G'day! Today we are cutting, welding, drilling and painting to make this welding cut that's great for a beginner welder. The first step on this build is to cut the materials down to size. I'm using 30 by 30 by 2mm box section for the frame. I'm testing out a bandsaw that I bought with the welding table that was in my last video, and you'll see a review on this bandsaw in a future video. However, the material isn't that hard to cut and you can cut it with a hacksaw if you need to. I've cut up 4 pieces and I'm arranging them into a welding cart shape. This will be at the top where the welder sits on. Once it's square, I'll go around and clamp it all down before adding tack welds into each corner to keep it in position. This is the welding table I mentioned before, and if you like what you see, I made a video on it a couple of weeks ago. You definitely don't need a welding table to do this, and I've welded plenty of times on the floor, but this is way more comfortable. While I was making this, I had someone ask me if there was a way to make this welding cart without welding. And that's by far one of the stupidest questions I've ever been asked. Of course you can find a way to bolt it together or even glue it, but if you're making a welding cart then there's a good chance that you already have a welder, so just use it. You'll see that my welds are enough to make the toughest man cry, but as the old saying goes, a grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't. All my welds are done and just need to be ground back. I'm also welding up a second longer welding cart shape, and this will be used for the bottom of the cart. Sheet metal will be used for the base. I'm using 3mm thick. I later changed this to 1.5mm thick as 3mm is a bit heavy for this project. Plus I went through so many cutting discs. Turns out I can't read a tape measure right and I cut all the pieces 50mm short in both dimensions, so I'll just have to work around that. I'll now cut some more pieces down, and my bandsaw decided it didn't want to do it anymore, so instead of fixing that just yet, I'll cut them out with the hacksaw. Get a fresh blade in and you can cut pretty fast with the hacksaw. I was cutting each part out in about 40 seconds. The main part of the frame is assembled and I got some caster wheels and welded them onto the bottom too. I was really just winging it with the design while making this, as I only had one constraint and that was it to fit under the workbench I made in a previous video. So with the welder in place I rolled it under to see if it fit, and it did. So I rolled it straight back out and got back to work. This is some of that 1.5mm sheet steel that I got and I'm using to make a drawer for the cart. I had the idea to make and bend this into a drawer shape, but I don't have a bender and couldn't be bothered making one, so I just cut all the parts out and welded them into place. That sheet steel also got used as a backing plate and on the sides. Off camera I quickly whipped up a hanger for the helmet out of some 20mm pipe and a bit of sheet metal, which then I welded onto the back. I then liked that idea so much that I then made 3 more and welded them around the cart. These would be for the power lead, the ground lead and the welding torch. We will test those out at the end, but for now I'm welding in some drawer runners on the drawer. Should you weld in drawer runners? Probably not, but these ones worked out fine. The opposite side also needs to be welded onto the actual drawer and it fits almost perfectly. A bit stiff in the middle, but it will wear out smooth. I also had to cut down the middle of the drawer and grind off a bit because I made it just a little bit too big. I then drilled some holes in the front and welded on a front for the drawer before drilling a hole in that too for a handle that I'll put on at the end. It's time to give this a lick of paint, and I'm using matte black for the bases, gloss black for the box section, and gloss orange for some of the sheet steel. This is my first coat. I'm not too worried about the brush marks in the work, and it's an oil base so it has plenty of time to smooth out before it dries. I probably should have primed it first, but it just means I'll probably have to do 3 coats of orange to cover it up. I soldiered on with the painting off camera and probably put it on a little too thick in some areas. Also added this anti-slip drawer liner and fitted the handle on. So that's the welding cart complete. I'll leave you with some shots of the final product. Thanks for watching and bye for now.